Hey guys, it's me, Alec. This is Dalton on my side. I don't know what side of the screen it's on. Oh, you know what? We're going vertical most days. That's right.
Yeah.
He might be bottom. I might be bottom. I'm not sure. We'll figure it out. Our personal lives shouldn't mean much to y'all anyway. But regardless, we are Strictly Ball Business, and we are talking about the National Basketball Association, baby. And we are in the middle of the finals. The Celtics are looking to bounce back in game 3 and see if they can, take advantage of this home court advantage that they have. With that, we're going to talk a little bit about one of our favorite players on the Celtics. And, it's good timing because today happens to be our 42nd episode. So episode number 42 for Al Horford, of course. So we're going to talk about why we think he has had a better career. Blake Griffin, and even in his top years was always better than Blake Griffin. We don't think there was a single year Al Horford was worse. We're also going to dive into the Nuggets offseason blueprint. They, of course, got trounced this playoffs by the Golden State Warriors. They were hurt all year, but next season, lots of optimism, we're thinking. From there, we're going to talk about whether a new Mitchell could come down to town for Sacramento Kings in the form of Donovan. He clearly wants out from the Utah Jazz. Now, does he have a willingness to go to California from Utah? Maybe. So we'll talk about that a little bit and why we think overall it's the best fit for him. And then I think we just have 2 topics beyond that. Top 5 centers. We'll let you know who we think they are, why, and how to save the Knicks. So a little bit of an offseason blueprint there, but more of a red alarm, write down the ways to save your life scenario. That's what it is for the Knicks, because this is a make it or break it year, we believe. So I get that right. Was there any more content we're doing today?
Not the Knicks one, the Magic one, I think. Knicks is next week.
I messed up. We're doing Knicks next week. We're doing Magic, Blueprint, we're talking about Mo Bamba specifically, right, Dalton?
Yeah, but don't worry. Next week, Knicks fans, we'll give you the blueprint on how to save the
Yes.
New York Knicks.
Just keep biting your nails till then.
We're here for you.
Shoulder
to cry on.
So, Strictly Ball Business here. We are on episode 42, and we're talking about Al Horford, of all people. Number 42 he wears himself. And we're talking about why we think he's better than Blake Griffin all time in his career. Obviously, he's a ton better right now. Blake Griffin is a shell of his former self, whereas Al Horford has rejuvenized and become a new Al Horford. Maybe now he's just Al Ford. You can get rid of the whore in his name. I think this guy has had a better career than Blake Griffin because every single year he's been better. And I know you got the stats to back it up.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So, the argument is, if you look at them and the uninitiated NBA fan will look at it and be like, oh, no, clearly Blake Griffin was better. He outscored him in literally every year but the last until 2019. And, I would, that's a great thing. But, however, Blake Griffin's scoring isn't what made him better. Neither is what Horford's scoring what made him better. Horford's obviously a better all-around player. Horford's actually a better shooter. He's more versatile offensively, and it always has been, than Blake Griffin, because Blake Griffin has just been unable to shoot efficiently. His best shooting year was 2019, and that was when he played 40 games with the Detroit Pistons, his best season was shooting 36% from 3. And that's not the end-all be-all for any of these players. But Horford has also seen better success. Horford's been to 3 conference finals. He's in the finals right now. Blake Griffin has not. The first conference finals he went to was last year with the Nets, and he was just a rotation player. It wasn't because of him. And they
didn't even make the conference finals last year.
That's right. That wasn't even the conference finals. So he's never even been on the floor for the conference finals at all. And even the team, he was a huge part of the Clippers, and he's also the spacing with him and DeAndre and Chris Paul were a huge reason why it didn't work out. JJ Redick had to shoot obscene amounts of threes for that Clippers team for them to even be good, but they've always choked. And that could have been Chris Paul. But the best two players were Blake Griffin and Chris Paul, so you have to put it on them for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, for years we were hoping that Blake Griffin would gain some new skills and become a more consistent defender and become a more efficient shooter. And it just never really came. That jump shot, he started to be able to hit some mid-rangers here or there. I see him attempt a three, but it's not that he should be doing those things. He's not good enough to be doing those things.
No, and he's not made to shoot. He's actually, if he would have started his career off shooting, he has shorter arms. He kind of has the build for a shooter, but he's just relied off his athleticism his entire career, and that's why he fell off so fast.
And what's crazy is that Al Horford was not a shooter for most of his career either, but he figured out that if he wanted to keep playing and have a consistent spot on a team, he had to figure it out. And now he is a potential, playoff MVP for the Celtics in a lot of ways. I know that sounds preposterous because obviously Tatum and Brown have been overall more impactful with the gaudy numbers. But in terms of being the X factor, who would have thought that Al Horford was going to be doing this year?
No, yeah. I don't think without Horford, they definitely wouldn't have made it past the Heat. Definitely wouldn't have made it past the Bucks without Al Horford. Even with the injuries the Bucks had, I don't think Al Horford guarded Giannis. He has great team defense. He was that big man. I mean, Marcus Smart, defensive player of the year, but he's a guard, and it's just different from that. You can't expect Marcus Smart to get out there and guard Giannis the way Al Horford did. And Al Horford had big games. He stepped up. He's been the veteran on that team, and he's been leading them. But yeah, no, to your point, it wasn't until 2016 that Horford really started shooting threes and started making. Yeah, and even then, that was 3 a game, and he still shot 34%, which was fine at that in 2016 for he played center. Yeah, he played center for the Hawks. For a center to be shooting 34%, that's all you can ask. And he's only gotten better since then. Just this last year, he's shooting 30. Well, this last year he shot 33%, but the year before 36%, 35%. Very slow release, but it's very good for that.
Yeah, for a guy his size, you can't expect more than 36, 37%. And for a guy to be developing that skill at this age, insane. To be able to shoot like that for the last few years, insane.
Definitely.
Wasn't doing this stuff before 30.
No. And I'd say arguably there's 2 best years for Blake Griffin. His first year was with the Clippers. It was with Clippers in 2013, 2014, where he 24 points per game, 9.5 rebounds, almost 4 assists. That was arguably his best season. And what came out of 2014? Nothing, right? But then if we go back and we look at Horford's best season, it was the Hawks, and they went to the conference finals. His best season took him to the conference finals when Blake Griffin couldn't, and nobody was talking about Al Horford. That was that Hawks team that won 60 games, though, and tried to beat LeBron and did their best.
He made an All-Star that year. He was one of 4 All-Stars from that team.
Yep, 18 points per game, too, on that. So his best year, he actually accomplished something, and for me, that matters more. Blake Griffin had the better stats, but I don't even think he out-rebounded him in his best season. Yeah, he did, but
yeah,
Al Horford's never been the best rebounder, but
yeah, if you were a player coming into the league and you were given the choice to have an Al Horford career or a Blake Griffin career, you probably every single time would choose the Al Horford career.
Yeah, at least you made highlights. You were really cool. You're one of the most popular. If you're looking at Blake Griffin's career, you're one of the most popular NBA players for 4 or 5 years. Is that worth it? But not accomplishing anything.
Really high peak for sure, right? It's right. Versus that high peak, of stardom, popularity, the dunk contest, the sexiness, all that. Mm-hmm. And the number 1 overall pick. Obviously, he got a good payday from that. And I'm not sure who's made more lifetime because Blake Griffin did have some fat contracts, but I'm guessing Blake Griffin has more long-term knee injuries too. And, he hasn't made it as far in the playoffs. Al Horford has a potential opportunity here to win a championship. And certainly Blake Griffin has, in theory, an opportunity the next season because he'll be on the Nets. But this guy's athleticism's dropping off every single day. Who knows if he'll even get like any substantial playing time this year? Like, we could get halfway through the year and the Nets could say, he's just like DeAndre Jordan at this point. He's just not good enough. I mean, right now, the thing benefiting Blake Griffin is that he is trying hard and he's very
he's at least smart vet. He's been around.
Yeah, he's getting you those extra things, those extra possessions, and he's not being too dumb. But he just doesn't have that raw skill and that raw athleticism like he used to have, and that is what made him great. Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, even Al Horford he's never been an athletic player like that. He's just always been throughout his career, I will say, has always every year has been more skilled than Blake Griffin has. And Blake Griffin, he's on the Nets who could win a championship. So you're saying,
but it's always in theory with the Nets. Well, it's like we're seeing now, like, talent is not all that matters.
Right, but no. So my point is, like, he's on the Nets, and that's why he might win a championship is because he's on the Nets. Al Horford's on the Celtics, and because the Celtics have him, they might win a championship. That's the different thing.
Yeah, that's great point. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, on one hand, the one guy's helping his team, the other one's just getting mostly a free ride. Yeah, free ride type deal. Which, granted, they're still NBA players. Blake Griffin has still had a great individual career where you can look back at it and be like, he was not an all-time great, but he was a solid player, and he was certainly fun to watch. Lob City was one of the most entertaining teams of all time. I loved those Clippers years. I mean, I was a big fan of that team. Matt Barnes was a fun player to watch. Jamal Crawford was in his prime. JJ Redick was there for a bit. He was solid. And, yeah, I mean, I really liked the role players they had around those guys. When DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin were at their max potential or max talent, like, those guys were impossible to stop sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
With the maestro Chris Paul getting them the alley-oops and the assists. Like, I mean, how could you do anything about it?
Yeah. The first time Chris Paul went on JJ Redick's podcast, he had a really good talk about what happened to that Clippers team and why it didn't work with JJ, and they talked about it. Super interesting. Check it out below. First time Chris Paul went and talked to JJ Redick on his podcast, linking other people's podcasts to this one. Go watch a more exciting podcast.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I'm just saying. I see clout where it is.
I think everyone knows who JJ Redick is.
Yeah, but they don't know. They probably don't.
On a side note, with players doing podcasts, what are your thoughts on Draymond doing a podcast the same night he plays a NBA Finals game?
I think it's pretty funny.
Pretty funny, right?
Yeah, like it's just fresh. It's just he still has that adrenaline flowing through his body, and it's pretty raw. I like to think it's not as. I mean,
yeah, he literally titled his most recent episode "The Draymond Green Jaylen Brown Play." And it was like, okay, so you just get right into it, huh?
Like, all right, man, just go ahead. I love it. I think it certainly adds a medium where you can. That really feeds into this final, especially if you're following all those storylines on YouTube or from whatever platform you're podcasting from. I think it's certainly.
I love hearing players' perspective. Any opportunity, like when they're just always professional puppets, that's not fun to me.
No, yeah, listen to them actually talk rather than in front of media is totally different. But talking in front of the podcast is so laid back, and they're like themselves. They're not like a reporter asking Steph Curry what's happening in the game, where they're like, stuff. It's like they're actually talking, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. But yeah, let's get into our next topic. That was just a side note of mine. Let's talk about the Denver Nuggets. So we're here strictly ball business, and we're letting you know what the Denver Nuggets got to do this offseason to get to a championship in 2022-23. First of all, they've got two guys coming back healthy. We all know that. At least we're hoping so with MPJ and Jamal Murray, that things are going to be, back to the same, maybe improved when they come back in terms of what they were when they left. Outside of that, this is a team that's got some good young talent on the fringes, like Monte Morris. I like a lot. Will Barton is a great veteran scorer. And
Bones Highland.
Bones Highland, yeah, great rookie this last season. So I think this is a team that can most definitely get a top 3 seed next year. I don't think that should be out of the question at all. They should be gunning for number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And, what do you think it's going to take for them to get there?
So first off, yeah, like you said, the All-Stars got to be healthy. They're getting their 2 and 3, second and third scoring options back. They're certainly going to help. I mean, Jokic did everything he can last season, and he took them pretty far. Like, if that's what your star can do without your second and third best player, kudos. That's great. So I really don't think they have to do much. However, I do have a trade down here that is more suggesting, because they did struggle with defense. They don't have an elite defender out there. Granted, Aaron Gordon's he's a really nice defender. I'd say he's a plus defender. Definitely, he's not what he used to be in Orlando, where he just didn't care. He locks in, and that's what they pay him for, is on that end, is to be that defensive leader that to play. I don't think he's capable of being a defensive leader like a Horford, Pat Bev, Draymond Green. He's not on that level. Certainly, maybe like in 5 years when he's in his 30s, yeah, maybe that's possible, especially if he keeps this trajectory. But I see them as very much having like a run it back type season, where they're like, keep the roster. We're just going to see what happens. We have both our 2 stars healthy, which you can't really complain about if they've gotten as far as they can. So yeah, I'm with that. I mean, they went to how second round in the bubble when Jamal was healthy.
Yeah, I think so. They didn't make it to the conference finals, I don't think.
Oh, okay. So second round, and they pushed that. I think that was the Clippers team. They pushed that Clippers team back to back. They were killing the Trailblazers. They're always there contending. They're never an easy win in the playoffs.
Right.
Even this year without them. So I think they'll do fine. I do think Will Barton's a great vet to have. He's just getting older, and I think you can pull, now that you have your 2 stars back. He was really nice to have this season, because he can go out and give you 20 points a game every once in a while. I mean, he averaged 15 this year on 5 and 4. So he was pretty fine, but only 43%.
I think he can get you those, not far off from those numbers, even with the guys coming back. And I think that will be a lot more enjoyable, because it'll be in a different role for him.
Right. I do like to see him them lean more into going out and getting an elite defender that can go out there and be a dog under the right coach.
Absolutely.
That's what I like
agree.
To see them have.
I agree.
Especially if you have the flexibility, offensive flexibility, like they will have with those 2 coming back.
Yeah, I agree. Someone who I want to mention that they should go after is Gary Payton II. I think someone who's not going to cost a ton of money, who, you can throw enough money at to pull away from Golden State. And he would help them so much in my mind, because Aaron Gordon helping out a lot defensively in terms of the bigs. Obviously, they could maybe use a guy a little bit bigger than him, but at least in terms of small ball, he's going to be just perfect for most situations. But you need someone at the guard position that knows what they're doing.
Oh, yeah. And all being said, Jokic has stepped up and been a better defensive player, where he's no longer a liability like he was a few years ago. So he is a better defensive player now. Certainly not the best defensive center, but he's like where if you have such an offensive center, he's where he needs to be defensively. But they still have a great bench, assuming both J. Michael Green and Jeff Green, except they have player options. I don't see them declining it. It's like $6 million for Jeff Green and $8 million for J. Michael. I see them both accepting. I don't see them getting more anywhere else. I think they'd be dumb to decline their player option. I'm assuming they're both coming back. Plus, you still have Monte Morris under contract. Your bench is still there, and you're still a pretty deep team, which is super nice. But I think they should be calling up the Spurs. And the trade I have is sending over only Will Barton, and you get back Josh Richardson and Trey Jones. Mainly, you're getting Josh Richardson. Actually, earlier this season when he was with the Nuggets, had probably his best shooting season we've had. Earlier this season with the Celtics. Sorry. He's probably had the best shooting season from 3 he's had this season. He's really improved on that. And he's always been a good defender, a great defender like that. So I think he would be really nice to insert into that. Much like what Gary Harris was supposed to be. But then Gary Harris fell off really fast. And that's why Aaron Gordon came in. So I think that would be nice. Plus, you get some young talent like Trey Jones. It might be a little redundant with Bones Highland and Zeke Naji out there. But still, it's always nice to have that little bit of depth.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that would be good. I'd love to see them take a swing at bringing in their old best friend Jeremy Grant somehow. Bring him back in town. I think they regret not offering more to keep him around. I think he would have been a really consistent offense and defensive asset for them these last couple of years. So would love to see them go after a guy like him, or maybe even a Larry Nance. I think would be fine. Really guys like obviously Larry Nance and Jeremy Grant not on the same level, but depends on how much Nuggets want to give up, right? But I think they need to get some guys that are hustlers, some guys that are known for, working their tails off, and get them in the fucking building.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And I like I said, there's a lot of defenders out there that they can even pick up in free agency. We got Nick Batum is actually really interesting. I think they can get him out there. He'd be a super nice vet to have. Obviously, he's a great rotation player. He's still reliable and functional for the Clippers last year. So I think he can, even if he gets close to that, he'll be valuable for this team. I do.
Yeah, I agree.
Josh Okogie, I think he's actually worth throwing a contract at, especially because all things considered, he has always been a really great defender. He's just very worthless on the defensive end, and I think they could use a guy like that, offensive end. But especially with the stars you have, if you have these three stars, they'll certainly make up for Josh Okogie. They could make him ignore him, but he can still be that dog.
With Josh Okogie, I think he's a very solid defender. It's just how many minutes are you willing to give him, because he is such an offensive liability that it's tough. Other guys like Nick Batum and whomever actually have some skill on offense and aren't a liability out there, so you can keep them out playing longer and you get more of the good defense.
Right.
I just worry, Okogie probably gonna get minutes somewhere next year, but I would not be surprised if whatever team gets him starts to realize the same thing the Wolves did, and then they're just like, oh, you just can't have this guy out there for that long. Sure, he's a good rotational guy for certain situations, and if somebody gets hurt, he can step up, but I don't know if he's much more than that.
Yeah. But and then a few other guys are like Markieff Morris is worth it. I'm not Markieff. Yeah, Markieff Morris is worth throwing some money at. Oladipo, certainly, as long as he doesn't want too much. Kent Bazemore. Get some wing defenders like those guys. They will need a backup center because Kent Bazemore is washed. But he's still a smart defender, all things considered, and he's worth it. Not that he's going to be your starting two guard. He's going to be a rotation player. It's a nice vet to have. They will need a new backup center, and I think they can afford a mid-level exception, which is about $6 million. So I think they should throw some money at Hassan Whiteside or Andre Drummond, and I think that would be certainly beneficial for them. Those two bigs, either one will take that money, and if they get either of those bigs, they could re-sign JaVale McGee again, and he'll be great. But I think
Boogie Cousins, he was great for them last year.
Yeah, he was. He was really nice for them. I do think, especially Whiteside, can fill a need that they don't have even in their starting lineup with his interior defense. Granted, that's all he gives you nowadays is just interior defense.
Drummond, but with role players, that's fine because he's great at it. So I'll take him being bad at other stuff because the interior defense is very important to have.
Oh yeah, perfect, exactly. But that's what I had for their offseason. I don't really think they have to change much. They just have to make sure stars are healthy, and like you said, top 3 seed is what I expect out of these guys.
Yeah, I think not too many moves are necessary. Obviously, they are pretty strapped in terms of contracts anyways, and it looks like I think they're eligible to give Nikola Jokic that super max $250 million deal this offseason too. So you make that happen. You got your, 2-time Chariot Rider of the Year, Nikola Jokic, and you get him to continue to lead the ship. I love his relationship with Michael Malone. I think Michael Malone is a fantastic coach. And now the Northwest Division looks just even more so open for the taking, and the West is going to continue to get worse. It looks like the Jazz are about to possibly blow it up. Quinn Snyder just stepped down. That is such a bad sign for what's going on over there.
Yeah, a great transition. Let's move into we can move into that. Donovan Mitchell. I'm sure everyone's heard the reports, but just to repeat, is he is disturbed and unsettled by the stepping down of Quinn Snyder, which I would be too. Quinn Snyder's always been a great coach. They wanted him to stay, but he was just frustrated. He didn't think that he could move them better than coach them better than they were. And it was pretty sad press conferences if you've actually watched it. We've always been huge advocates for Quinn Snyder, saying he was a great coach. So certainly there's other spots that are opening up now, but now with that gone, Donovan Mitchell or Rudy Gobert, they've clearly had their issues. I think we've pretty much decided that Donovan's more likely to go because he's been kind of more of that big market type player where that he'd want to lean towards, and Rudy Gobert, the defense he creates is just irreplaceable. So Donovan Mitchell, I think a great landing spot for him would be the Kings. What are you thinking?
Yeah, my only question is, how did the Kings get it done? Like, I think fantastic fit. They instantly have the best player on their squad, but are they trading away De'Aaron Fox to make it happen?
I'll tell you how they do. And this is how they keep their 3 stars, right? So Donovan Mitchell, just straight up, only Donovan Mitchell. So you got to throw in Harrison Barnes' contract. You get a decent vet, I guess. Then you get throwing young players, Terrence Davis, Davion Mitchell, and then the number 4th pick, and then another first-round pick on top of that. I don't know how many good picks, because the 4th pick is a very underrated thing. Because
I forgot they had that.
Yeah, 4th pick, because that's very underrated. Because you look at it and you're like, like
Rookie of the Year just won. This year he was the 4th overall pick, just won the Rookie of the Year this year is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. But also, like, just picking up you could pick up a first round from the Pistons. There's no guarantee it's going to be as high as 4. You know what I mean? Especially with the lottery odds.
Like a future first, you mean? Versus taking the guaranteed 4th overall pick and then taking a first round pick from someone else for a future year.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, like, you could shoot for the top 3. But the reality is that we have a lottery in our sport. So, like, you cannot guarantee that you're going to be top 3. You can't even hardly guarantee you'll be top 4. But with this trade, you would. And you get some other solid players. Hell, you'd get Mini Mitchell coming back into town anyways.
Yeah, you get another D Mitchell. But,
yeah, just give him number 45 and you don't even got to take the jerseys off the shelves.
Yeah, exactly. You don't even know. Just all that new stuff. But so if we look at this, that's suddenly the Kings get a big 3, right? And they get their number 1 scoring option. And I think it's a lot easier for Donovan Mitchell because he can. It came to the point where with the Jazz, he was doing so much he couldn't do the defense that he was known for when he came into the league. They're like, oh yeah, he can play this defense, and that's the defense he played on Paul George against that Clippers series in his rookie year. So that stuff was really interesting. It was really cool to see, and now he gets to lean into that more because he doesn't have to carry the offense like he did with the Jazz. Because you have De'Aaron Fox, and both of them can average 26 points per game. They've both done it. I mean, Donovan Mitchell just did it.
Yeah, Sabonis is a near 20 point per game scorer as well.
Exactly, and that's not even talking about Sabonis. Sabonis is also an all-star. All 3 of them are all-star type players. De'Aaron Fox, I think he can make it eventually. All things considered, he's played like an all-star. So I think that's definitely a big 3 that can contend in the West. However, doing that kind of depletes you. So what you're left, the next best player is Rashad Holmes. Can he fit at center? You might just have to figure it out unless you can find a decent trade for him. But
I mean, I think they've already been interested in trading Rashawn Holmes. I think that's been documented. So I'm curious to see who they'll try to replace him with. But, I think regardless, like, Sabonis will probably move to center, and then maybe a power forward gets some more athletic guy who's got some shooting skill. I think that works out for them.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do. I don't think they can go out and get a better player than Rashad Holmes because if they make this trade, they're kind of limited. Because the best
it's
two
not
players,
about getting a better player; it's about getting a better fit. Like,
right,
straight up, Kings fans will tell you he does not fit the team right now.
No, yeah. So after Rashad Holmes, they only have 2 real rotational players, and it's Justin Holiday and Harkless. So you're pretty thin. So you're ending up this offseason relying on you have to sign Jeremy Lamb back, and you have to sign Dante DiVincenzo to whatever he wants. Because if you don't sign those guys, you're just kind of left with no depth. So that
Yeah, they
and-
got to sign those guys, no doubt, especially Dante.
Yeah, oh yeah, and I think Jeremy Lamb is huge for this offense too.
He's a good shooter.
He's a really good shooter to throw in there, and next to Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox, you really need shooters, and especially if they bring back Dante DiVincenzo, they're going to struggle with having shooters. So whomever they get back for Rashad Holmes, they better hope that they get a decent shooter, like Larry Nance. You mentioned he's a decent shooter, better defender than he is a shooter. He'd be fine. I think he's probably as good as Rashad Holmes. If not, I think Rashad Holmes might be a little better for the role he plays, but. It'll be interesting to see what that is. But it'll really make them thin. But I think Donovan Mitchell next to De'Aaron Fox, exciting. Sabonis, awesome. I think I'm so down for this trade if they can do it.
Yeah, I think that's, box office for sure. I wonder if the fit between Fox and Mitchell will be, perfect. But I think those guys are talented enough. They can figure it out, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. I think
regardless, bring in a guy like Mitchell, you try to, just bring in that sort of talent. I think it's always going to be the right thing to do.
Yeah, and I think Donovan Mitchell would be excited for it. All things considered, he's going to a place that already has 2 stars, plus you're going to California. I don't see much downside aside from it being the Kings. But I feel like players players like Donovan Mitchell, like he was excited when he showed up to the Jazz. Like he doesn't care that they're had a losing code that they never won. He was like, I'm gonna make this a winning team. He did what he can, and now I think if he goes to the Kings, they have stars, he'll be just as excited. I think we'll get to see that vigor back into him.
Yeah, I think it'll be a really exciting team. I still think there's a lot of definite smoke around Donovan Mitchell wanting to go to the Knicks. So do the Knicks put up quite a package where the Jazz can't say no? Can they put up a better package than the Kings?
I think if they did, it'd be a huge leverage on their future. Like they would be 3 or 4 picks and pick swaps, 3, 4, or 5, much like the Paul George trade to OKC was.
Yeah, I think some team will be willing to do that, and it could be the Knicks for sure.
However, I do look at this Kings trade. If they're willing, Davion Mitchell, solid guy. Terrence Davis is a solid rotation player. Davion has a lot of potential. Getting 2 first-round picks, one of them is automatically at number 4, who you can get a decent player for. Plus, you're getting back a decent veteran. He's a good veteran, not decent veteran. As vets go, Harrison Barnes is really nice, all-around type player. So, I don't know if you can get a better guaranteed package where you know what you're getting out of the package than this.
Well, I'd say the Knicks would probably need to give up RJ Barrett, who would be a pretty nice piece to get back if you're the Jazz, and then a couple first round picks on top of that, plus maybe Emmanuel Quigley or something. I bet the Jazz are maybe that's what we want to do. Maybe.
But if the Kings offer this 4th pick, it's also really interesting because they're like, we get to pick the 4th pick, because the Jazz are instead of we're getting back a star that they drafted, we get to draft somebody at 4.
Which is a lot different. Yeah, a lot different than, saying, okay, we'll just get back RJ Barrett. But, depends on what that front office thinks. Obviously, that front office is on fire. Otherwise, Quinn Snyder would not have jumped ship. I think that news report that we saw in regards to Mitchell not liking that Quinn stepped down or that he felt uneasy, I think that's just kind of more the, let's get this news story out there. You want to move on? Let's move on to our next topic here. I think we talked enough about, what's you say? Oh, is your dog getting on the screen there?
Yeah, it's all good.
We talked a bit about Donovan Mitchell to the Sacramento Kings, but we are going to move on to our top 5 centers in the NBA and why we think that is the case. So obviously the center position as a whole is very top heavy. I think outside of the top 7 or 8 guys, it's quite a drop off at that point. Even above that, you could say. So I am curious, who is your number 1 center? Because I think that is kind of where, a debate could be.
Really, number 1? Yeah, I feel like I'm glad we're gonna go 1 to 5 because I feel like it gets more gray as you get to 5. I think the top 2 are pretty standard. For my 1, I do have Nikola Yogic.
Okay.
Reigning MVP. Well. He's shown he's insane. He can do it on all levels, and he can carry a team, much like Joel has to do most of the season. but we saw more success out of Jokic. Plus, he won the MVP, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, hard not to, obviously pick him. Back-to-back MVPs, like, he's the number one center, which, in turn makes the number two pick here pretty easy too, Joel Embiid. A guy who when he came into the league, didn't play like his first 2 seasons. I wasn't sure if this guy was going to have a career. And now here he is, flash forward. He is a defensive player of the year type of guy. He's an MVP type of guy, dropping 30, 40, what he averaged. He led the league in points per game this year. I mean, I never thought that was going to happen.
Won the scoring title. Yep. 30 points per game, almost 12 rebounds. Actually, 4 assists was the surprising part, 1.5 blocks. He actually shot better from the field from 3 than Jokic did. Granted, the volume is different, but he did shoot more efficiently from 3 than Jokic did, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, he is. They had very similar field goal ratings, but yeah, he's been great. He's always going to be the villain to me because of as a Timberwolves fan. So like, I get it.
Well, and just that he's a flopper too.
Yeah, and he's like a ridiculous personality, but it's still fun. He still makes it fun.
I like him. I like his personality, and you need guys like him to be the heel in the NBA. But I wish he would cut down on the just bulldozing and falling over onto guys, because
for sure
that gets annoying.
And it can hurt players. It has hurt players.
Yeah, when he fucking tore Danny Green's ACL. It's his fault that Danny Green's knee got blown out. He should feel awful.
Yeah, and he hurt Scotty Barnes in this last playoff series.
Yeah.
From doing that type of shit.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'll go on the record, say Joel Embiid is a grade A piece of shit, but he's a great player. And I hope Joel Embiid hears this. And, if you want to set up a meeting to, I don't know, hash it out, you let me know.
Yeah, please. I don't care. You can roast. You can even beat the shit out of me on camera. We'll just make sure that we can put it on YouTube. Anything.
Yeah, put it on our channel so we can get the streams. But, I think you're a fantastic player, but I fucking hate you.
Right. So the first 2 are pretty clear. Who's your third? I feel like 3, 4, and 5.
Starts to get muddy here. I mean, I am a Timberwolves fan, so it's hard not to be a little bit biased. But overall, I still think, non-biasedly, it's got to be Karl Anthony Towns. Like, offensively, he is potentially, better than the guys ahead of him because of how great of a shooter he is. Sure, defensively, he's got a long ways to go, and foul trouble he has a hard time with. But just in terms of shooting ability and scoring ability, this guy is on another level. And when he locks it in, I mean, that's something you can pencil into your lineup and not have to worry about.
No, yeah. Cat is not my 3. I will say Cat is my 4. But his offensive skill is insane. But it's his discipline and his defense that don't put him above it for me. And it's his effect on the Timberwolves. I mean, he's been on the Timberwolves where they've been the worst team in the NBA, and then they've been a playoff team. So it's tough for me. My third, and we can go and talk about Cat more, but get into stats more. But my third is Rudy Gobert. His defense is it for me. Take him off the Jazz. I think they're going to struggle to make the playoffs. He's instantly affects your defense. And even then, I mean, he averages 16 points per game, 15 rebounds, led in rebounds, 2.1 blocks. But he's not as versatile, not close to as versatile as Cat at all. However, he is hyper efficient at 71% field goal rating at 16 points per game. He is hyper efficient in the offense he does do, which is rolling to the basket, sit in the dunker spot. Very few hooks or post game, but what he does defensively puts him into third for me.
Yeah, I do think, and I had him at 4th, obviously, so we were swapped on that one. I love Rudy Gobert. I personally think he is more likely to win a championship in his career than Karl Anthony Towns. And saying that as a Timberwolves fan hurts a little bit, but his play style and his abilities, is going to get him on a great team. Like, some great team someday is going to, might be this offseason, might be a few years from now, they're going to trade for Gobert if he doesn't win anything with the Jazz, because That's the type of player a lot of teams could use.
Yeah, put him on the Nets. I think they would instantly win. Him for Ben Simmons.
Oh, yeah.
As crazy as that sounds, people really think he's a bad contract in this NBA. I'm like, maybe
More.
not as much money. Like I can cut it down by like $5 million. That's understandable.
It's just
what he does.
It's just like popular to hate on him.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Nobody values defense on the regular basis in the NBA, and I really love defense. And watching him is one of my favorite things to do. Like it's just
We're
as exciting.
seeing what great defense does. We've got two great defensive teams in the championship, and one of them, the Celtics, they turned around their season because of their defense and made it to the championship. And where are the Nets? Oh, they were the only team that got swept this postseason. So
exactly.
I'll tell you what matters. It's fucking defense.
Yeah, it is, and that's great. But hopefully, Karl Anthony Towns gets it. I admire what he does. I mean, 41% from three, 52% from the field. This guy's just a giant bucket. Any team he affects their defense, their offense instantly. He did only score 9.8 rebounds. It's tough to see him not score 10 rebounds as the starting center for this team.
It was weird.
Granted, he shared a lot of it with Jared Vanderbilt. However, but
it was weird though. We needed a lot more rebounds. I mean, Jared Vanderbilt at some nights was the only guy rebounding. Yep. Karl Anthony Towns had many games where he ended the game with like 4 or 5 rebounds. That is unacceptable.
Yep. And his aggression, it's not controlled aggression. It's not like, I don't think it helps him as it would help most players. Because he makes stupid plays, especially offensively. He gets so many offensive fouls. Play. Right, that too. And one thing I like to see him,
fouls.
Right. If he's not going to get his defense, or if he even gets to like a decent level of defense, what I want to see him really progress in is his playmaking. He averaged 3.6 assists this game, but I've seen him, and if he gets into that mode, I think he can average 6 assists in this league, and I think that would be insane, and that would help out a lot for him to be a center of point forward type deal. I think that would be awesome for this team.
Yeah, he has underrated passing ability, no doubt. I've seen him make passes that look beautiful. So I know he can do it. I'd love to see him, go for the bucket though. That's the thing, is when he doesn't go for the bucket early, sometimes he ends up with like not being involved in the game for quite a bit. And that we can't have it all either. So sometimes it seems
star.
Yeah. So sometimes it seems with Towns, it's like it's going to be hard for that assist number to get up because the ball is just not in his hands as much. Because you've got Edwards, who's uses the ball a ton, as he should. He's awesome. You've got D'Lo, who's the point guard, so he obviously has the ball in his hands a lot, and a lot of it's on those guys for not getting the ball to Cat enough.
Yeah.
I think Pat Beverly does a good job of getting the ball to other guys, but he understands his role. He's not a guy trying to get his. It's different,
Yeah. There should not be if they have made it clear that Karl Anthony Towns is their star, he's the number one player, he's the franchise player, there should not be a single offensive possession where he does not touch the ball while he's on the court. It should always go to him.
I agree.
And then back from there. And that's the same.
You got to get things moving. He's a weapon.
Exactly, yeah. And that's the same issue they've had that the Mavericks figured out. They're like, Luka has to touch it every time. And that's it. That's just the basis of it. So once they figure that out, but
because it opens things up for other guys. It's not just about getting the ball to him so that he can score. It's because he's the best player on the team. He's the smartest player. Well, one of the smartest players on the team.
Right.
And teams are scared of him, of what he's going to do. So they get drawn into him. Other guys get open. He passes out. He's a good passer, like we said, so he can get the ball to them. So getting the offense moving, getting, fluid passes back and forth, that's what the team needs to do next year. Exactly. And that's what Towns needs to do to really take to the next level. But yeah, we still have one more spot on this top 5 center. And for me, it's Bam Adebayo. I know he didn't play a full season this year, but think this is a budding star here. I think defensively, this is a guy who can win a Defensive Player of the Year. Obviously he's not on the same level as Gobert, but I do not think he is far off.
Right. He's not my 5 actually, and it's tough.
Whoa.
And it's super close for me. But what gave me what gave DeAndre Ayton my 5, who is my 5, was, I know he averaged less points, but he is a better and more versatile offensive player. And he's come so far on defense where I look at their careers side by side. I think DeAndre Ayton can get as good as Bam on defense, but I don't think Bam can get as good as DeAndre Ayton on offense. And that's what makes him the fifth for me. I mean, both have gone to the finals in their career, which is pretty crazy that both these young players have already gone there, but averages 0.1 more rebounds than Bam. But he shoots. He's able to shoot, and when he's on the floor, it's not, the offense isn't as constricted as it is when Bam is, because Bam can't shoot. Bam can toss up some mid-range, but in this league, that doesn't matter anymore. DeAndre shoots 36 from 3, 63 from the field. He is more efficient in what he does on offense. Bam's 55% from the field, which the defensive guy, you'd like to see him get up to 60s if he's not going to shoot threes to justify why he's on the floor like that. But Bam is a better playmaker than Ayton. I do think Ayton suffers from playing with Devin Booker, who is a very ball-dominant guard who will score, and he's going to score 26, 28, 30 points a game. So, and they don't have that on the Heat.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Butler's still like a 22-point-per-game scorer.
Right, but he's not like ball-dominant type guard like Devin Booker or Chris Paul, where it takes those directly take possessions away from DeAndre Ayton, where Jimmy actually doesn't take as much away from the flow of the game. They play more team basketball than the Suns do, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. I still think you're wrong on Bam Adebayo not being able to get to the skill level that DeAndre Ayton's at. I think he's got plenty of time to figure it out as a jump shooter, and I think he's on the right team to figure it out. I mean, look at how many guys over there came out of nowhere as shooters. I think spend a lot of time in the office, in the lab with Bam Adebayo this offseason and get him to figure out how to shoot a three and, get that mid-range shot even more consistent. And this is a guy who could become top 2 center. No worries at all.
Yeah, I think both those two, along with Kat, in 5 years, we'll be talking about how they're up there too. I think they're going to be competing with Jokic just as much as Embiid is soon. They're both up-and-coming centers. I'm super excited to see where they go, especially Ayton, because he changes his game every year. His ability to change is why he's 5. So
I'm excited to see, what it is with Ayton, because it sounds like he does not want to be with the Suns anymore. So we might be seeing his ascension on a new team.
Yeah, we'll see. What do you guys think? What do you guys rank these as? Comment below. Let us know. And now we're going to transition into the seventh best center in the league. Mo Bamba. So number 7. Defense, offense, he's got it. No, on a serious note. I came across a trade scrolling through Facebook in my lowly hours at work, and I wanted to talk about it. And it's really just the theory behind this trade. So it's modernizing the Magic. I think this was a SportsCenter article that came out where it's a sign and trade. The Magic get OG Anunoby, Raptors get Mo Bamba, Chuma Okeke, and that Chicago first round pick in 2023.
Woo, man, they gave up OG for Mo. Woo.
So there's a lot to unpack here. The Raptors get that center, but it's not just a center. He did shoot 36% from 3, and he shot a high volume, and it's two almost 3 blocks a game. He's been incredible on that end. He was just very undisciplined, and the idea is that he goes to the Raptors where you get Nick Nurse, you get all these defensive stars where they can pull what the Magic could never pull out of Mo Bamba. And the Raptors are pretty constricted. They've been playing Scotty Barnes at the center, so they take one of those star forwards they have and they ship him off and they get back some young talent. Magic, I don't know. I love OG and he would be great. I just is he in place for Isaac? Whose roster spot does he take? Does he take Wendell Carter's roster spot? Does he take Franz Wagner's? It's kind of weird. I don't see his fit here, but I get it. He would be great to have on any team. Any team in the NBA would love to have OG. He's the prime 3-and-D type player.
I mean, I think I would way rather have OG Anunoby, than Jonathan Isaac. Not even close.
Same. So we've talked about how the starting lineup, what the Magic should be looking at a lot often, especially recently, where say they draft Chet Chet's going to be the center. Wendell's the power forward. And then Franz is your small forward. Who do you bench? Because Wendell's had a great year. You don't want to move him off. Franz has had a breakout year as a rookie. Do you play a big lineup? Does OG play your 2? Would you have Marco on the Fultz? Do you play that big? What do you do? Say you make this trade.
Yeah, it's maybe too big. I don't think you can take Franz out of the starting lineup. And I think ideally you need to keep the starting lineup available for your other young guns too. So you are more so looking at, benching a guy like Wendell Carter, but then you're probably too small at that point.
Right. But on the bright side, if you're the Magic and you get an opportunity to do this trade, why wouldn't you? Because otherwise, Mo Bamba's probably going to walk with nothing. For nothing,
Yeah,
he's going to restrict free agency. I doubt they would match anything.
Yeah.
And
they should try to find a way to get something in return for him because he was a 5th overall pick. It would be nice to get something in return. He's he's got decent potential for who he is. I think certainly the Raptors could do a lot worse. Hell, they signed Aaron Baines 2 years ago, and he had the worst season we have ever seen out of a starting center.
Yeah.
So I think just from that perspective, this would be a lot better. If you're the Raptors, you probably prefer Wendell Carter. But I don't know. I suppose the Magic probably do too.
No, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I doubt when they would do that. I think Wendell Carter is a huge part of their future, and the way he's been able to improve month per month last season, I think he's definitely going to stay. So, but it does add a little redundancy to their lineup. I don't see why they wouldn't do it, but at the same time, I don't know if it helps them any. Obviously, it would help them immediately if they would put him in this starting lineup, but I don't think it helps their development. That's what their priority is right now. So I'm not sure about
Yeah, I
this
agree.
trade.
Development is the priority, so that almost makes the trade not worth it to me. You almost would rather just let Mo Bamba walk for nothing.
Right.
But anytime you can bring in talent is great. But
That's right.
it's just tough for a team like this. They're so early in the rebuild. OG Anunoby would be like a better player to bring in like 2 years from now.
Yeah, exactly. And we know he's probably not going to be an all-star in this league unless a very surprise happens. I doubt he would be an
if he
all-star.
like really takes a big leap,
Right.
Like he's not there yet. I could certainly see him getting there if some things opened up for him. Obviously, there was a report that he wants to maybe get out of there since the emergence of Scotty Barnes, which fair. They definitely have a logjam there between him, Scotty, and Siakam as well. So
yeah,
it's a tough situation for the Raptors. I don't know if that's the best trade with the Magic. I think Mo Bamba is a great player, but maybe there's somewhere else for him. I think there's plenty of opportunities.
Right. I do think Mo Bamba's a perfect fit for the Raptors. So I think the Raptors would say yes to this. Plus, they get a first-round pick, and they get a guy like Chuma Okeke, who's fine.
I guess, okay. I forgot I said first-round pick. Because, that's decent then.
Yeah.
If you get both those things, then you give Mo Bamba, 4 years, $50 million or whatever?
I assume it would be like a 3-year deal or something, or maybe even a 2-year deal, whatever. But I think he would be a perfect fit for them, help spread the floor. You get some long defense and fits their archetype, and I think Nick Nurse would love to have him.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Strictly ball business. You heard it here first. Who knows?
You heard it.
We have any more topics? Is that the last one?
Yeah, that was our last one. Our fortune tellers, we're prophets. Last episode we talked about how Mike D'Antoni and Kenny Atkinson would be perfect coaches for the Hornets job, and now those are the only 2 finalists. You heard it. We know everything. We are the prophets of the NBA.
Yeah,
Subscribe.
if you were Michael Jordan, who would you hire between the 2?
I really like Kenny Atkinson. I think he deserves a coaching job in this league, but I would Mike D'Antoni. I think LaMelo Ball is gonna benefit more from Mike D'Antoni's system than Kenny Atkinson, who's just a very good developmental coach.
Yeah, it's just kind of the choice you got to make. Like, if you want to focus on defense, which they, in all intents and purposes, should think about, because they were awful at defense the last couple of years. Maybe they should take Kenny Atkinson. But if they want to, get LaMelo to that next level, like really quick, and then, move on to a new head coach when Mike D'Antoni retires in like 4 years, because he's like 78 or something. Like, I mean, dude is not a spring chicken. I'm gonna look it up here. I'm curious how old he is at this point, because like, I mean, he's only 71. Okay, so he's still very young. I mean, God, it's crazy. He's still out there doing that. He's trying to get that bag though. Can't blame him.
Yeah.
But if you want to unlock LaMelo quicker, you hire D'Antoni. So I think, like, obviously the sexier hire is Mike D'Antoni. It's not even close. And I think that is ultimately what Michael Jordan is going to go with, because
I think he better fits the
likes
personnel.
Making a splash.
Very, very young team, fast-paced team like Miles Bridges, James Bouknight, I think Terry Rozier. I think Mike D'Antoni fits the personnel they have. They don't have the defensive guys that Kenny Atkinson probably would need for his system. Granted, they could pick up a lot, and I think he would still be a good coach. But yeah, I think that would be fine. I'd be down for that.
D'Antoni's a legendary coach, and this would probably be his last run.
Right.
And I'd be excited, to see it. I love that guy. He's awesome.
It's that Game of Thrones quote that I'll always remember. He's like, double the offense. No. Triple the no defense. No, twice as less defense. Triple the offense. And James Harden's just like, he's like, yeah. Game of Thrones. Love it. James Harden, what a joke.
Zones. Game of Zones.
Game of Zones, that's right. But all right.
Game of Thrones is the real one. But all right, you get to your balling, son. I know you got to get going. So,
sir.
This was strictly ball business. So, we kept it strictly balls for y'all.
Only balls, only all the time. We're here for you.
Only all the time.
Only all the time. I have bruises all over my body because balls won't leave me alone.
Balls everywhere.
Help. All right, thank you. Subscribe.
Thank you.
Hey guys, be sure to like and subscribe us. We're strictly ball business. We strictly talk NBA. We love it. You love it. So let's get above it.